we investigate Gary Gygax's secret lost rules for D&D. Today on Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor Dungeonmaster, and this channel is about playing the ultimate game of D&D and other tabletop RPGs.
And I'm Deathbringer. Level up your game by subscribing and hit the bell icon to be informed as soon as we upload new videos.
Dungeons & Dragons was first published in 1974, and it is the brainchild of two geniuses, Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax. It was Arneson who first conceived a game about brave adventurers crawling through dungeons in search of treasure. Gygax codified the rules and created the framework we know as D&D today, including the 6 ability scores and the sacred D20. Gygax was forced out of TSR, the company he helped found, in 1986, so he had no involvement with the game's 2nd edition, nor did he have any involvement with the 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition. But what if he had? What if he hadn't been fired? Are there clues to what his vision would have been and where he might have taken D&D? One of our Dungeon Craft Facebook members, Mike Costner, may have the answer. He writes, "So I found this. This is something I copied years ago from either an interview with Mr. Gygax here in India or something he posted in a forum I frequented then. Not really looking for validity, although some info would be cool. Today, we're going to investigate these lost rules, and I've invited my buddy, Adhesive Tom, we've been playing games together since we were 11 or 12 years old, to take a look at it with me. Tom is camera shy, so you're not going to see us. I'm going to commit one of the cardinal sins of YouTubing. I'm not actually going to be on screen. There's not going to be any cutaways. We're just going to be looking at the text and discussing it. So let's take a look at this piece of unearthed arcana for ourselves. Gary's House Rules, and this was copied down in a lecture from one of our Dungeon Craft viewers, and that's Buddy the Cat.
All right, Buddy, go upstairs. All right, so OD&D, Original Dungeons & Dragons, and these D&D adaptations would be what?
Well, that would be the White Box edition and the John Eric Holmes Blue Book edition. So the White Box came in 74, and the Blue Book, I think, comes in 76, and it's replaced by the Moldvay edition in 79 or 80. Now, what's interesting is it says 3 core books only, so that would refer to
Player's Handbook, Dungeonmaster's Guide,
Monster Manual.
So the real question is, how can you authenticate this? Or is it even possible to authenticate this? How do you know, wherever you pick this up, that this is indeed his house rules?
Well, we're going to have to take a look, and I'm going to have to judge its authenticity by the end, knowing what I know about Mr. Gygax and having met him.
Okay.
And then, of course, if anyone actually played with him, they'd be able to confirm it.
That'd be great.
They'll say that in the comments below. We'll move on to the premise that it is authentic for now. Ability score rules. 46 drop the low die. That was first introduced in the 1st edition of the Dungeonmaster's Guide. It doesn't appear in the Player's Handbook edition. It was a Dungeonmaster option from the first Dungeonmaster's Guide. So that is the system that he invented. He came up with that system. Dexterity, +1 armor class. Constitution, +1 hit point per level. Charisma, +1 all reactions.
14 plus. You only get that plus on AC if you're above a 14.
That seems to be what it's saying. Advanced D&D had less pluses than regular D&D, and the 5th edition has pretty much gone the direction of basic D&D, only it's even higher. It goes all the way up to +4.
Interesting.
+1 to reactions. The reactions would have been done on 2 6-sided dice. In basic, it was done on 2 6-sided dice. In advanced, it was done on percentile.
Yes, I remember that.
So it seems here he's using that basic reaction table. The only thing the charisma was used for originally was the reactions of potential opponents and when you try to recruit henchmen.
Oh, okay. 1d6 hit points per level. Reroll ones. Oh, that's good. At least let you reroll the one.
That would be consistent with humans as described in the Dungeonmaster's Guide and the Monster Manual. Humans have d6 hit points.
Damage reduction. -1 hit point per level. That's interesting.
It is really interesting.
Never seen that before or since.
As a fighter's advance in D&D, you're always getting bonuses to your proficiency,
Right.
which affects your offense. But this is a reduction of hit points you take. That is a reflection of your defensive capability.
Yeah, that's interesting. And per level, yeah, -1 per level. So you get -3 at third level. That's interesting.
Which would be a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit.
But everything has lower hit points because on third level, how many hit points do you have? You'd have 11 or 12 hit points.
Yeah, it's not much for even a fighter. Jeez.
It's kind of cool to have a damage reduction. I don't know how that would play out as you get to be 8th level. You get 8. But
-8, yeah, that'd be interesting.
It would mean sort of a goblin cannot hurt you.
Yeah, so you'd be fairly invincible.
To lower level monsters,
Yeah.
but not to something massive like an ogre. Negative hit points, level +1 equals death.
I don't follow that. Level +1.
So if you're 3rd level, your level +1 is 4. Once you're reduced to below 0 hit points, you have 4 rounds
Oh, okay.
to receive medical attention or you would die.
Oh, okay. Healing, cure magic, heal completely.
I'm thinking that's just for ease of use. Like anytime you cast Cure Light Wounds, you're at full hit points.
Really?
Well, if you're starting at 3rd level and you only have 11 or 12 hit points, do you really want to calculate?
They just have 6 hit points.
It's just easier.
I guess you're right.
Just say it if you use it.
Heal completely. All right.
Fighters, strength 14 allows
+1 to hit, +1 to damage.
all
right.
attacks.
Right.
So what's interesting here is apparently if you have a strength of over 14, you get +1 to hit, but not to damage. Only a fighter gets the bonus to damage.
Oh, okay.
And fighters get
+1 extra hit point per level. Only the fighter. Oh, there's only 3 classes he's got here. Oh, 4. I'm sorry,
4.
clerics.
Yeah, he's
Rogue,
only got the
wizard,
basic
fighter.
classes. I can tell you that he wasn't a fan of some of the other classes.
Is that right?
He
No.
wasn't even a fan of
Paladins
of
and
wizards.
plus
You know,
one
that
per
+1
level.
hit point, you know, a 3rd level fighter would have something like 14 hit points,
Okay.
which is pretty much where a 1st level fighter starts today.
Yeah.
Wizard intelligence bonus allows one 1st level spell.
New spells must be found. What is the rest of that?
New spells must be found or sought. It looks like you have to get new spells. Either you have to find them in a dungeon, in a scroll,
okay.
or a book,
Right.
or a wizard has to teach it to you. You have to find a master wizard to teach you the spells, which is a lot like how I do wizard. Rogues 14 allows +1 to move silently. OD&D plus 10%. Basic D&D had this wonky percentile system where you had to roll under the number with percentiles.
Oh, you remember that?
that? So it's like, oh, I have a move silently 15% instead of just rolling a 20-sided die and you had to roll an 18 or better.
Yeah. Clerics, no spells at 1st level.
That was always the case.
Wow.
But if you have a wisdom of 15, it
Oh,
grants a
okay.
spell
Then you
at
can't
first
get
level.
one. That's Wisdom of 14 allows +1 1st level cleric spell use.
All right, so you get an extra spell.
Oh, okay. All right, initiative 1d6, party roll.
Group initiative. Declare action and spells before initiative. And initiative ties mean simultaneous actions.
Okay. That's the way we do it now. Wait, spellcaster loses spell when hit. Wow.
So you'd have to say,
I'm casting sleep.
I'm casting sleep or fireball before the initiative. Then the initiative is calculated. And if you're hit with a magic missile before that, your fireball would be spoiled.
Wow.
I think that group initiative, it helps with the communal experience.
Absolutely.
You're working as a team.
Yeah.
You know, it reinforces that team idea.
We've got the 1d6 surprise.
Right? So you could be surprised for up to 2 rounds. And that places a high value on sneaking up on the monsters.
Right.
And you don't want the monsters to sneak up on you.
No.
So you would always be on guard. You would always place someone, I'm checking behind us, I'm taking up the rear. You always see that in the early D&D books and examples of play. I have the rear.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Wow, I'm glad you remember that.
And that's because they don't want to get snuck up on.
I think the most interesting thing is that there's only 4 classes there. So you really didn't like the other classes, huh?
It might have been just a thing like, okay, we're just going to play with the basic classes. If you want to be
okay.
something else, Because he doesn't say anything about elves or dwarves either.
No.
But he hated wizards. That is a fact. And that's why he made them so weak. 1d4 hit points, one
right?
spell on first level. You only had one spell. When you cast it, you were done. And that was an effort to discourage people from playing wizards.
Amazing.
So is this document credible? In my opinion, yes. If you listen to old grognards like Tim Cast, who knew Gygax personally, this is very aligned to his way of thinking. It's a game that features far fewer hit points, less power, group initiative, many of the things I've recommended on this channel. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe, click like, drop a comment below. If you want to see Adhesive Tom's hideous face for yourself, you can do that by becoming a patron. We have a live broadcast once a month called Live from Adhesive Tom's, and he actually appears on it. That's exclusively through Crowdcast and Patreon. And check out Macbeth, a one-shot module I wrote with William Shakespeare and the Quest Givers. Available for immediate download exclusively on questgivers.com. Link below. Once again for Dungeoncraft, I am Professor Dungeonmaster. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. I'll see you soon, and until then, may all your rolls be 20s.
Deathbringer again. Personally, this was my favorite video because I didn't have to look at his smarmy face. But if you're a glutton for punishment, click on these videos for more Dungeoncraft.